Good morning, students. Today I am going to take Unit 4 Human Resource Management, Lesson 11 Employee Selection Process, Part 2. What is mean by selection? So, selections means is a process of selecting or choosing suitable candidates, most suitable candidates for the vacancy position in the organizations is a selection. And then, what are the steps in employee selection process? What are the steps in employee selection process? Number 1, application blank. Application blank. Number 2, scrutinizing the application. Scrutinizing the application. Number 3, selection test. Selection test. Number 4, interview. 4, interview. 5, physical test, physical examination or medical examination. Medical examination. And then number 6, reference check. Reference check. 7, approval by higher authorities. Approval by higher authorities. Higher authorities. Number 8, final selection. Final selection. And then contract of employment. Contract of employment is a final step. So what are the steps in employee selection process? Number 1 is application blank. What is mean by application blank? These 3 I already explained. So application blank means it's a supplier pre-printed application. Scrutinize the application means is a check the applications form to shortlist of the candidates for the interview is scrutinizing the application. And selection test. Several tests are conducted. What are the kinds of selection test? Types of selection test? You have here 2 types of selection test. One is here ability test. Ability test. Another one is personality test. So the ability test comprises is a aptitude test, achievement test, intelligence test, judgment test. So ability test comprises aptitude test, judgment test, achievement test, intelligence test. Personality test comprises the interest, personality, perspective, and attitudes. These are all the types of several tests. Now you will say, so fourth, what is the next step of the selection process is interview. What is the next step is interview. So what is meant by interview? So interview, this terms has been derived from the French word. This term has been derived from the French word. That word is interview. Interview. That means to glimpse or to see each other. To see each other. So what is this term? The interview has been derived from the French word interview. That means to glimpse or to see each other. Understood this word? And what is the meaning of the interview? Interview represents the face-to-face interaction between the interviewer and interviewee. Interviewer and interviewee. So what is where the interview represents? Interview represents face-to-face interaction between interviewer and interviewee. Who is called a interviewer? So interviewer means is a job provider. Interviewer means is called a job provider. So what is mean by interviewing means is a job seeker. So face-to-face interaction between the interviewer and interviewee is called a interview. And you have here one definition. Whose definition means is according to Scott and others defines. Whose defines? Scott and others. Scott and others defines. So interview is the purpose of full exchange of idea. Interview is the purpose of full exchange of idea and answering the questions. Answering the questions and communications between two or more persons is called a interview. Whose definitions according to Scott and others defines. So interview is the purpose of answering the questions and exchange of full ideas and communication between two or more persons is called a interview. And what are the types of interview? Next one is what are the types of interview? So first one is here types of interview. So first types of interview is preliminary interview. Preliminary interview. Next, structure interview. Third one is unstructured interview. Unstructured interview. In-depth interview. In-depth. Panel interview. And stress. Telephone interview. Stress interview. Telephone interview, online interview, and then group interview. Last method is video conferencing interview. Video conferencing interview. So what are the types of interview? So first one is a preliminary interview. First method is preliminary interview. Next one, structure. Unstructured interview, in-depth interview, panel interview, stress, telephone, online, group, video conferencing interview. Now I explain one by one. So what is the first method is preliminary interview. Preliminary interview. So in this method, to know the eligibility candidates who are applied for the interview. Eligibility candidates who are applied for the interview. So the team experts conducted this interview. Team experts conduct this interview. And primarily it eliminate those who are unqualified and unfit candidates. Primarily it eliminate those who are unqualified and unfit candidates. That is a preliminary interview. Understood? Preliminary interview. And then what is the next one is here? Structured interview. Next kind is structured interview. This structured interview is also called guided interview or planned interview. Structured interview is also called what? Guided interview or planned interview. So in this method, series of questions of the candidates. So series of questions or number of questions or number of questions of the candidates. Number of questions by the interviewer. Number of questions by the interviewer. Series of questions by the interviewer and pre-prepared by the interviewer. Pre-prepared. So previously they had to set the questions. So this pre-prepared questions only asked in this method. There is no other questions. Only for the pre-prepared questions only asked in this kind of interviews. And selections is based on the rank. Selection is based on the rank. And then what is the next? What is the other name of the structured interview? Guided interview or planned interviews and unstructured interviews. This interview is just opposite to structured interview. Just opposite to structured interview. There is no pre-prepared questions. There is no pre-prepared questions. On atmospheres, free and frank interaction between the interviewer and interviewee. So selections is based on the random of questions. Selections is based on the random. And the next one is in-depth questions. In-depth interview means to know the level of knowledge. Level of knowledge. To know the level of knowledge of the candidates in the particular field. To know the level of knowledge of the candidates in the particular field. That kind of interview is a depth interview. And the next one is panel interview. Panel interview means a group of people interview the candidates. So group of people interview the candidates is called a panel interviews. So the panel members are who are comprises of the panel members means the chairman, subject experts, and psychological experts and so on. Every members every members are asked different types of questions, and each and every members awards marks individually, and they select the candidates. And the next one is stress interview. So panel interview means is a panel members, group of people interview the candidate. Panel members interview the candidate. And then stress interview. In this method, to know the temperament and emotional balance of the candidates. To know the temperament and emotional balance of the candidates. So mostly in this kind of interview is conducted by the sales representatives and staff for defense. What is the examples best in this method? Which organizations are followed? Sales representatives and staff for defense are followed this kind of stress interview. And then next one is telephone interviews. So telephone interviews means some organizations are conducted this kind of interview because the candidates are lives far away from the organizations. So they are not easily conduct the interview. So this kind of organizations are conduct the interview by the telephone. And this is a very easiest method because it's a primarily it eliminate unqualified and unfit candidates. And the next one is online interview. So online interview means due to tremendous growth and increasing tremendous growth of communications. This kind of interview is conducted by the online. So online means is conducted by internet, such as WhatsApp, Skype, etc. And this is this kind of interviews helps to reduce the cost and energy, and also for the energy of both the organizations and candidates. And the next one is a group interview. So group interview is a screening process. So group interview is screening process. So that is where multiple candidates are interviewed. In this method, multiple candidates are interviewed. That is interview at the same time is a group interview. And the next one is video conferencing interview. So video conferencing interview means is similar to face-to-face interview. Similar to face-to-face interviews. So the interview is conducted by home computers and smartphones and also tablets. So this is also very easiest method to find the candidates. So these are all the what are the types of interview. So what are the types of interview? Preliminary interview, structure interview, unstructured interview, in-depth interview, panel interview, stress, telephone, online, group, and video conferencing interviews. And what is the next kind of process is physical examinations. What is the next kind is called a physical examinations. So this kind of steps is to know the physical ability to perform the particular job. Physical fitness of the candidates. Suppose any disease are not spread to one employees to another employees. So previously they have to be conducted for the physical examination and physical medical examinations of the candidate. And the next one is reference checker. So selection process is based on the recommendations. So selection process is based on the recommendations is a reference checker. And approval by higher authorities. What is the next step is approval by higher authorities. So in this method, the selection candidates, so who are the selection? The selection list for approval by the higher authorities. Because who are the higher authorities? The chairman, subject experts and the psychological experts, and also managing directors, board of directors is also a higher authorities. So the selection candidates for approval by higher authorities. And the next one is final selections. So all the selected successful candidates will be passed to the final selections. Will be conducted in the final selections. And the last was step is a contract of employees. So contract of employee means after completed all the process, all these steps, the employees selections are over, and then the sum of the contract has to be signed, expected to be signed by both the organization and also to be candidates. So the contract comprises job titles and terms and conditions and the rules and regulations to be followed, what is the salary expectations, etc. So this is what is mean by interview, what are the types of interview and what are the steps to be followed in the employee selection process. So thank you students.